Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Star Wars The Acolyte Season 1 or Series Review. So, did this show slap or did it get slapped? Unfortunately, it got slapped. Will Smith style. See, this show is just alright, but it has a lot of problems storytelling wise. See, there's a lot of people, those toxic people on YouTube, who constantly say every week that this show sucks, is garbage, is trash, and all that. It's not, it's just a mediocre type show. It's just as basic as it can be, that tries to be ambitious with its storytelling, but falls flat. A lot of things they try to execute in this show, and there's a lot of things they try to execute in 8 episodes that's around 30 minutes that they can't fully tell. Now, I've said this before, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I am a casual fan. I've seen every movie except for Han Solo. I've seen every live action show except for Andor. And I've never seen any of the animated series. I've never read the books. But I read some stuff on Wikipedia years ago about like what some of the book canon is and this and that. One thing I will say about this show, it does try to tie in a lot of Star Wars canon. Not necessarily the movie canon, but just like canon in general, which could be one of the main problems with this show. It tries to do too much, but it also tries to incorporate everything Star Wars that there is, the basic lore of it. It tries to incorporate the George Lucas movie canon. It tries to incorporate the Dave Filoni canon. And of course, the Dave Filoni stuff is all the television shows and like animated stuff and live action stuff like that. It tries to incorporate the new trilogy. It tries to incorporate the canon of the books, the canon of the comic books, the canon of the child books, and the canon of the video games. That's way too much. And it's gonna confuse a lot of people, especially when they start seeing things like a light whip, like in this show, but they've never seen it in none of the like animated series or none of the other live action series and none of the movies. And so breaking canon is one of the most like god awful things I think a person can do in a franchise. But to be fair, even though I don't know that much Star Wars, I'm pretty sure when it comes to all that animated stuff, they have already broken canon. So if you're pissy about like this show and the creator breaking canon, you gotta blame the cowboy first, and that's Dave Filoni. And so, back in the day, you had the George Lucas stuff, you had the Kathleen Kennedy, the George, what's his name? The Dave Filoni and the Jon Favreau stuff. But Jon Favreau, I think he's went back to, I don't know if he's doing Marvel now or something else. I know he's worked on like The Mandalorian and stuff like that. But basically, when I look at Star Wars today, I look at it as the Filoni verse and everything. George Lucas is gone because y'all ran him out and y'all are now begging for him to come back, which is really funny and stuff. I mean, y'all didn't originally like the prequels, but now you say you do, and like you got pissed at him for constantly changing the original movies in the DVD re-releases and stuff. So he's like, I'm out. And so in comes like, Dave Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy and bringing in other people and they're trying to incorporate their own thing. I will say with Dave Filoni, one thing he has done that's amazing about Star Wars is that he has expanded the lore. because George Lucas kept it extremely niche. No Star Wars fan wants to admit that, but it's the honest to God truth. Star Trek, my favorite franchise, it expands its lore with every upcoming like sequel movie and every upcoming like sequel like series and stuff like that. It has expanded the lore to the point where it can't really be expanded no more. Star Wars is very different. It is as niche as it comes, and George Lucas loves telling the same exact story over and over again. And that's where all his diehard fans want to keep it that way. They don't want to expand the lore. They get pissed when they see tons of people of color. They get pissed when they see the LGBT. They get pissed when they see women, because George Lucas kept it way too confined. George Lucas Star Wars and all the 6 movies he created basically go like this. There's a white guy, he's destined to save the universe. There's another white guy who tags along with him who has an attitude problem. There's a headstrong female who tags along. There's a wise person. And there's that one lonely black person who just every once in a while will tag along on an adventure. Tons of aliens, and it's good versus evil, and that's it. And all 6 movies literally repeated the same formula. Now you have Dave Filoni, who took George Lucas' approach and, created his own universe, added his new characters, and wedged them in between that of George Lucas's movies. And that has pissed off the fan base. Pissed off so much that when y'all see something y'all don't like, y'all complain and whine about it. Or you review bomb the crap out of it. Like The Acolyte got review bombed big time before episodes even came out. And that's just sad and pathetic, and that's very snowflakish of you, because it's the same thing y'all did with She-Hulk. But back to that of this show, since we've gotten past that part. So when it comes to this show, like I said before, it got slapped. The writing is very mediocre, the writing is not very consistent, and the writing is not very sharp. Leslie Headland is very ambitious, but I think she has a ways to go before she can helm her own television show. But I looked at her profile to see what exactly she's been up to in the past. And, Bridesmaid was that big movie she did. And it, a lot of people really like it. I've never seen it, and I never will. But, after that, she did a few more movies, and she went into television. Now, her TV stuff is actually pretty impressive. I'm going to ignore that of, the stuff she only directed. The only things that she's written and created. Russian Dolls season 1 on Netflix is amazing. I love that show, but I've never seen the second season because I don't do Netflix no more. And the show literally came out in 2019, and the second season came out in 2023. Why? COVID messed it up. And so they had to wait for a long time, and then they finally made it. And then after that, it was just canceled. So how was the second season? Hey, I don't even know. But there are 2 people from that show that she brought on over to The Acolyte. The guy who plays York and that of her wife. Her wife, Rebecca Henderson, she normally plays in a lot of projects that Leslie does. Like Single Drunk Female, which is a show I reviewed. It lasted for 2 seasons, and it was pretty good. But just like I said in my review of Single Drunk Female, there were some flaws in the writing. And, when it comes to that, I didn't like the way how she handled certain characters and certain pacing. And that has kind of come over here, but worse. And it's weird because with Single Drunk Female, which was a really good show, and Russian Dolls, at least by season 1, was really good. It's like, how did she fumble so much with this show? Well, I can't even fully blame her because you got to think of another component. Disney Plus. This has the Disney Plus formula written all over it. It'll have like a first episode that will keep you hooked. Then all the other episodes that like follow are nothing but like dragging along. It's dragging its feet. It's nothing but filler. And every once in a while in that filler, you have a couple of sprinkles of the plot that keeps it going, but only tiny little sprinkles. So then when you get towards the end, the second to the last episode explains either everything or the last episode explains everything. And in one episode, you get like a bunch of action. And that's basically the Disney Plus formula. A first episode that keeps you hooked, a bunch of filler, one really good action scene or action episode, and like one episode that explains everything. And then of course in the last episode they want to wrap everything up in a nice little bow. They have got to stop doing that. They really, in honest to God, do, because it's not good storytelling. Because, you know, when it comes to Disney Plus, they really don't even have showrunners. They just have a head writer, which this is what she is. And so while she might be good in some other things, she's not good in every type of genre there is in like the entertainment business. And I think this one right here shows some major cracks in her writing. Like I said before, the show is not terrible. It's just mediocre. Just some of the writing and character development needs to be sharper and everything, especially when you're dealing with something that is a beloved franchise to people, because you don't want to get it wrong. You always want to get it right. And I think she tried way too much. So the reason why I even watched this show is because, one, lightsabers. Oh, how I love lightsabers. And that's really the only thing that gets me hooked into that of Star Wars, except for The Mandalorian, because The Mandalorian is just awesome. But like, you know, another thing got me hooked in here. Carrie-Anne Moss and pulling a Drew Barrymore Scream Casey Becker thing was really stupid. It was stupid, it was dumb, and it pissed me off to the point where I was gonna stop watching. But then I remember there's another star in here I like a lot. X-23 from the Logan movie herself, Daphne King. So I'm all like, all right, well, you know, I'm a fan of Daphne King, so I guess I'll stay. And honest to God, what type of person covers up this face with prosthetics and makeup? You don't do that. But whatever. She was one of the better additions of this show. I really liked her character. It sucked her character died. But there's like I said before, when it comes to the storytelling of like this show, there's a fundamental problem. It's the problem with the writing, a major problem with the pacing and character development, and the mystery isn't all that gripping. Because when it comes to the mystery of this show, after a while, so much boring stuff kept happening to me. I just didn't care about what the mystery was. I'm like, whatever, these people die, I know that, and the Jedi somehow killed them. I'm good to go. I don't care. Now, some people get really pissed that this showed the Jedi in a very bad light. I'm okay with that, actually. And you know why? Because this is set 100 years before that of like the Phantom Menace. And so it's nice to see how the Jedi used to be before they became the Jedi that people know and love. The logical thinkers, not having too much emotion so it doesn't like corrupt them and stuff like that. It's okay for your heroes to have flaws, but it's only okay if the writing is good. And the writing is very inconsistent, so that is a major problem. Because like I said before, there's a lot of things going on in this show. One, there's the Jedi, how they were back in the day. And then there's the creation of the Sith. Then there is the twins and how they came to be, who they're about, are they really good or evil, like, you know, all that crap going on with them. And then there is the huge mystery between these Jedi And like, what happened to those witches? And then there's the mystery with the whole master stuff. And so since there's so much going on in just 8 episodes, honest to God, I thought after the 6th episode, they were just done. But I'm like, oh no, not 2 more episodes. But there's just too much stuff going on in this show, and it doesn't have time to breathe. And since it doesn't have time to breathe, you're not telling a good formulaic story and stuff, or at least one people are familiar with. Because see, when it comes to this show, since we knew it was going to happen 100 years before, and there's like, the Sith being created and all this, this show should just focus on one or two things. It should have focused on like the creation of the Sith and how the Jedi started turning into Sith, like how they became corrupted, how they let their emotions get the better of them, and how they made mistakes. That's really how this show should have been, the formation of like the corrupt Jedi turning into the Sith. But then they threw the twins in there and stuff. And when it comes to the twins, a lot of people are pissed because of how, they were created, and saying, Anakin is the only person created by like the Force and stuff like that. And it's like, I can get why people's mad about that. That's been something established for many, many years. But, this is set 100 years ago. So, there always could have been other people. And I'm pretty sure there's been other people in other books or comic books, and nobody complaining there. But, now since this is technically canon to like the movies and stuff, I understand why people are getting pissed. And so when it comes to the twins, it's like, I have a huge problem with their personalities. And because, you just want to keep it simple, keep it basic if you can't tell a more broad story. But this show likes to have lots of twists and turns. It's okay to have twists and turns, but you gotta make sure that writing's like strong enough for those twists and those turns. And, it wasn't always like that. Another problem I have with this show, it didn't have that much action. Waiting all the way to the 5th episode to finally get some action just took too freaking long. And like I said before, these Disney Plus shows love to drag their feet. I get it. You can't tell everything in the first episode, and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to linger, but you ain't supposed to linger this freaking long and keep it boring. You gotta keep it innovative. You gotta keep people wandering for more. You gotta have a big enough puzzle that where like, you can't necessarily put it together yourself, and you gotta need help. And it keeps you more engaged and stuff like that. And so I just wish the writing was sharper and stuff. Then there's the whole big secret thing, which is what really kept a lot of people more captivated to that of the show. And it was a bit of a whimper. I mean, it was intriguing, you know what I'm saying? And there were like literally 2 flashback episodes, not broken up in half, but episodes that were flashbacks. And a lot of people keep saying that those 2 flashbacks, episodes 7 and 3, were the worst episodes ever because it really slowed things down. And yes, it did slow things down. But you know what? When you stop and you actually think about the overall arcing of this show, those were actually the better episodes, because those actually told a legit story. You had character development, you had emotion, you had a plot, you had consequences, you had A to B to C plot, where all the other episodes never really had that. The other episodes just had vague explanation, but with here, you actually got some meaning to stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so while those episodes were kind of boring because they devoted an entire episode to flashbacks, those were the better like episodes in terms of a storytelling. But when it comes to that, the overarching mystery and stuff, about what the Jedi did, it's a little bogged down because there's twist after twist after twist after twist of character like perception and character development. And they just would have kept it more simplified and just added one twist, that totally would have been fine. But the problem with episode 3 and 7 is that the head writer, Leslie, and the rest of the writers, because she only wrote about like 3 episodes, but of course everything has to go through her. they weren't written strong enough. And I just keep saying that phrase because it's honest to God, they weren't really, because they tried to be so ambitious and be like, hey, look what we did. Look at like this point of view and this twist. And oh, you can't believe that person, but oh, you thought that person was good. And it's too much clutter and everything because they're trying to do too much and trying to get ahead of themselves. Then another thing that's really bugging me about this show is that it was hard to get through because of all the toxicity and everything. All these little toxic people whining, crying, moaning, and complaining about everything they can find their hands on about this show that they didn't like. Like one person literally complained that when a ship blew up in space, it had flames. Oh, there's never been fire in a Star Wars movie in outer space. How dare they do that to our show? Only for somebody on Twitter to literally go back to one of the movies and show the same thing happening to one of the George Lucas movies and shut them up. Seriously, they tried to find every little thing they could nitpick about and complain about it just so they can be like, ha, see, this show is garbage and you should think so too. And we don't want you to enjoy this show. It got so infuriating because they just whine like little bitches and everything. And that's what they are. Like, they're little bitches and everything. And if you're going to whine and complain about something, at least whine and complain about something that is important. You know, but they were trying to find every little thing they can. What? I don't remember the sand being that color on a planet. Oh, let me complain about it. And it's just like, oh, since when are there overweight Jedi? Oh, I gotta complain about that and everything. And it's like, seriously, these people have nothing better to do. And it wasn't even like most of the toxic people. It's just random fans that are just whiny and everything. It's like, get over yourself. Like one problem they had was like the lesbian witches. And yeah, you kind of have to call them the lesbian witches because even the creator of the show calls them lesbian witches and everything. And you know, it's like, you know, so there's like a planet and it's just full of women and there are no men. And people complain about that because they hate lesbians and everything. And it's like, why? When there are straight people in Star Wars, you don't complain. Why are you complaining about lesbians? Oh, I know why. Because now it's fun for y'all to hate on the LGBT again. And politicians do it and everything else. So you gotta like lick their behinds and follow them and everything. And it's like, get over yourself. They're here to stay, and they ain't going nowhere and stuff. And you know, because there's a scene, other than the lesbian witches and stuff, there's like a scene where they're like, you know, they're trying to introduce like, you know, non-binary pronouns, right? Because you gotta remember, the creator of this show, she's a lesbian. Her wife is that green lady, I think her name is Vanestra or something like that. The green lady, because she's from like the children's novels or something like that, and like that's her wife, and you know, and stuff like that. And you know, it's okay if you know she's a lesbian, so she wants to incorporate LGBT things in there. That is totally fine and everything. And but y'all are whining like nobody held hands, nobody kissed, nobody like did anything. So y'all just complain just because they are actually just that sexuality and everything. But like, you know, but I will say this, if you're gonna do something, make sure you do it right and don't make it cringe. Because when they were trying to do the whole pronoun thing, there was one line in here that was just cringy and came out of nowhere. See, the lead actress who plays the twins, that actress is non-binary, I think. So they wanted to add like a little non-binary reference, you know, that has to do with her character and like, you know, another character. And it would have been fine if it was just written a bit better and stuff because it just kind of came out of nowhere and it was just so awkward and everything. And that line has to do with Basil, the little beaver looking thing. When Osha asked York, you know, like, because she didn't know Basil's name, so she's like, what is his or they name? And I'm just kind of like, why didn't she call him a they? And he's clearly a dude. And if she didn't know he was a dude, why didn't she say him or her or something like that? But like I said before, they wanted to add in like a non-binary like reference and stuff like that. Totally fine, just don't make it sound cringy, because that literally came out of nowhere and stuff. And and it just seemed kind of like just weird just to hear that phrase, like the way she said it, out of like just nowhere. She wanted to be respectful, like all people should be respectful, but it just came off as cringy and stuff. Kind of like when all of a sudden you're like watching a show and a character's all like, I'm a strong woman. It's just kind of like, why would you say that? And it literally happened to a show I was rewatching called Man in the High Castle. This woman was crying and her husband was getting on to her about something. She's crying. She's like, I'm a strong woman. And I'm just kind of like, why did you say that in the middle of this like conversation? Like, it's just kind of odd. See, a better way to handle it would have been like Star Trek Discovery. In Star Trek Discovery, there was a new character named, I forgot. Adira, that's it. There's a new character named Adira, and Adira is human, but Adira has a Trill symbiote within their stomach and stuff, right? And that's like an alien thing. And so with the alien, basically what it does when it attaches itself to a host, you now have all the memories of all the past hosts. And a host can be male or female, it doesn't matter. And so when you have and then because Adira is human and you ain't supposed to have a Trill symbiote in you, it can really mess you up. So there's all these memories jumbled in Adira's head, and they're getting messed up with her memories and stuff, right? And so like, only Trill are better suited for that, and the practices they have to do and stuff. Anyways, at one point in time, when somebody was talking to Adira, they called her, and she's all like, you know what? Can you call me like a they? Because I just don't feel like I'm either one. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't feel like they're like, male or female because of all the memories of the symbiote. Because you really feel like you experienced those lifetimes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So they're like, okay, fine. That was a way better way of doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because you understood where this character comes from, and you understood the alien symbiote that's within them and stuff like that, right? But here it was just kind of awkward and everything. But that's not the only non-binary reference in the show. Everybody's favorite character, Jackie, has a somewhat non-binary transgender type like hairstyle. I say transgender only because of this one character named Gray. Gray is the Trill that was supposed to have the symbiote in them, but then it went to Adira because Gray died. Now Gray is actually a transgender boy or a man or whatever, but in the show I forget how old they are, but it's a transgender male. And so, but now the person who plays Gray, I think they say they're transgender and also non-binary, which doesn't non-binary and transgender supposed to cancel each other out? Because if you convert to another gender and non-binary is not supposed to have a gender, don't that kind of cancel it out? Like, heck if I know. Like, I get so confused by this stuff. Anyway, so like, Gray has a very specific hairstyle and everything, right? And it's the same hairstyle similar to what Demi Lovato had back when Demi Lovato did the whole non-binary thing. Now Demi stopped doing that and just goes by like a her and everything. But back when Demi Lovato was going through the whole non-binary stage in her life, they had that hairstyle and everything. And so when I see that hairstyle, I'm all like, oh, okay, this must be like a non-binary-ish type hairstyle that most people get, right? And if you notice, Jackie has like, that hairstyle and everything. And Jackie's very unexplained. There's not much about Jackie that we know. And honestly, I don't even remember anybody even calling Jackie that of a gender. They normally just call Jackie and everything. but it was something right under your noses and you did not recognize and everything. Now I bet you're pissed because many people like Jackie and everything. Oh no. But yeah, it's just the most ridiculous thing when people complain about race and gender and like, sexuality and everything in Star Wars. Like when Finn took off his helmet and revealed he was a black stormtrooper. And ever since then, like all these toxic people have just come out the woodworks and everything. And it's just so ridiculous. But anywho, when it comes to this show, I'm gonna break down pretty much everything there is to break down in more terms of storytelling and like a murder mystery type thing, because I'm unfamiliar with, with Star Wars and everything. But I will try to add a little Star Wars reference here and there. But I just want to talk about the fundamental flaws in the storytelling and why it did not slap for me and why it got Will Smith slapped in the face and everything. Because there's a lot of problems with this show, and if it was longer with like more consistent writing, it could have been a whole lot better and everything, but sadly it just was not. And like I said, first and foremost, this should have just been a show about the ancient Jedi and how they were back in the day and how they had like so much emotion that corrupted them and how some turned into the Sith. Because in this point in time, there is no Sith. And so one problem I have with the writing is that they're trying to find out who is May's like master, who taught May the way of the Force, because May rejected the Force back when she was younger. And it's a pretty odd mystery, and it could have been a really good mystery. But here's the problem with this. They constantly keep saying, what Jedi, corrupted you or something like that, or what corrupted Jedi taught you and blah, blah, who is your master. They never refer to that person as a Sith, making us think that, hey, that term does not exist. But then halfway towards the middle of the series, the actual Sith master is all like, you have a term for it, you will call me Sith. And it's like, well, hold up. How exactly is this term even relevant if nobody used that term before? And that's the problem I have with it. If this term is never supposed to be used before, then how the heck do they even know what it is and stuff, But that's one little problem I have with that. But back to, it should have been about the Jedi and the Sith. Most people like me don't even know how the Sith were like created. We know it's corrupt Jedi and stuff like that, and people who have the Force who abandon the ways of the Jedi. But it would be nice to see why they abandoned the ways of the Jedi. Are the Jedi very strict? Are they very stern? I mean, Jedi are pretty much like, judge, jury, and executioner and police officers and stuff. And so it's kind of like they are the law of like the universe and stuff, But they always acted like peaceful people when you see them in the movies and like television shows and stuff. But this could have been a great way to capitalize on their flaws. And they do have flaws in this series. The problem with it is that it's jumbled with the incoherent like backstory and like incoherent writing and stuff. And, it reminds me a little bit of Zefram Cochrane from Star Trek. He had first appeared in the original series. And he was just this peaceful man, a wise man, a great man. Like, you were really, he's really something to like behold, you know what I'm saying? Because he's so like great. He's like perfect and everything, you know what I'm saying? And he's the man who introduced warp drive. But all the way many decades later, they decided to make a Star Trek movie with a different cast and be like, you know what? Let's show Zefram Cochrane in this movie. But instead of having him being all perfect, let's make him as flawed and selfish as possible. Showing that their great creator, a person who they think of as like the god of space travel, is one of the most flawed people in the world. He's selfish, he's greedy, he just did it to make money. He constantly drinks because he's a drunk and everything. And he's not somebody that these people looked up to, and they saw that and they couldn't believe it. That could have been a very great approach to go about this. But the problem is we already knew that these Jedi was flawed because we have May going trying to kill them because they did something in the past. So it would have been nice to see more of the Jedi Order and show them, like, fall from greatness. Kind of like what are they called in the Green Lantern? The elder people. They called the Guardians or something like that, I think. Yeah, because you know how like a lot of them are very peaceful, very logical, but then there are some that are corrupt and went the bad way in their way. So this is really how this show should have been presented. Keep out the twins, and just like have this whole Khmer like turned bad and other people turning bad, and it could have been like a civil war between them and everything, and that could have been like the formation of like the Sith. But the show wanted to go in a different direction. See, the show wanted to incorporate things from other Star Wars lore and canon and incorporate it into their show. Therefore, you have the twins and how they are created. Now I'll get to the twins a little bit later. Now, the cast isn't really that big. Like, look at like some of the Jedi, like say York and Jackie. They're very undeveloped characters. You don't know much about them. You don't know much about why they wanted to be Jedi. And they're killed off in the 5th freaking episode. And it's just like, when you got 3 more episodes left, why are you going to kill off pretty much your entire main cast and stuff like that? They could have helped progress the story a bit more because both these people have ties to that of Osha. Osha's one of the twins. And so since York knew her from their training days and Osha left and he resents her for that, and Jackie became her friend and, looks out for her and stuff, that could have been great character development going forward with Osha and stuff, and even that with May, but they squander it. And it's like you have York, and throughout the entire show, I thought York was gonna turn into a Sith because this dude is very emotional for a Jedi and everything. He has a lot of resentment towards Osha. And so it's kind of like, with all that resentment, I thought for sure he would turn evil. But no, he's just a good guy who's just pissy and everything. And he ends up dying. And it was really a waste of like a character and everything. Because there was so much we could have got out of him. And we got absolutely nothing. And also, he also worked on one of Leslie's shows, Russian Dolls. Then there's Jackie, calm, collective, rational and everything, very smart and intelligent. She's a fan favorite, but just like with York, she's very underdeveloped and she dies in the 5th episode. But throughout the entire series, we see her calm, kind of like the way a Jedi should be. But when she fights with rage and everything. Now, this is a nod because she was X-23 in the Logan movie. But nods aside, keep the nods out. And explain why she's so enraged when she fights. Why she gives a war cry. Why she's very aggressive when she fights. Could this be more of the Jedi just being nonchalant type people, and then they realize, hey, that emotion screwed you up, so let's be more calm in the future. Could have been a great way to go about it, what I'm saying? But she died in the 5th episode. And she mostly just spends all her time talking to Osha, and that's literally it. She could have been a whole lot better of a character if she had some better character development. And Daria by Carrie-Anne Moss and everything. This was a huge disappointment because I was expecting to see her all throughout the series. But nope, she dies in the first couple of minutes in the 1st episode. And she knows something known as Force Fu. Why does she know martial arts? Because she was in the Matrix movies. And it's just kind of weird seeing a Jedi do martial arts because at least I've never seen it before. So it's one of those things that if you're going to incorporate, then you need to have more people actually do it in this series and not just her. And maybe they could be all like, hey, this ancient form of fighting isn't really good against like a Sith. Maybe we need to abandon it. When you get to like the movies and stuff. But of course, this show don't do that. And so you don't even really know what kind of character she is. You just know she did something bad in the past. And she's willing to whip out her lightsaber and kill May because she knows she did something bad. But what the heck did she do? You don't find out until episode 7. That is too much of a drag. By that time, you either forgot her character existed or you simply just don't care. That is sloppy storytelling. And when you do see her character, it's like she's pretty nice. So it's kind of like, dude, what was up with all that aggression and stuff in the first episode? That she's so nice and she doesn't want to break none of the rules and she has to reprimand other people and stuff. Well, it's because the rookie got like, mind controlled by the witches, all the witches and everything. And she tried to stop them and everything. And so, not sure. I don't think she killed them. I think she just mind blasted all of them with her force powers and stuff and rendered them unconscious. But she made the mistake of being selfish and taking Osha because she knew Soul wanted Osha so badly. And she's all like, we need to hurry and leave this place because the building's collapsing and there's a fire and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. So she literally left them to die. And what made it worse is that she made Soul cover all this stuff up and lie to that of Osha. And it's kind of like this would have been so much better of a reveal if we would have seen sprinkles of it all throughout the show. But we can't because she died in the first couple of minutes. But what they should have did, instead of having 2 flashback episodes, you can have 1 flashback episodes, but then you do it like Arrow on the CW. You have flashbacks all throughout the series in every episode, little bits and pieces here and there that helps explain what the heck happened all those years ago. So her whole twist upon twist, because now she has 2 twists, because she was like a really good person, but then she went stupid and everything. So it's like that would have been a whole better reveal if we would have got sprinkles of it all throughout the season. Now, when it comes to the big mystery of why these Jedi did what they did, it's pretty ludicrous and everything. And like I said before, with Carrie-Anne Moss' character, it was twist on twist. That's too many twists. Just have 1 twist or have none at all. But then there is the rookie. We think he's bad because, he isolated himself in exile. But if he exiled himself, he must have did something really bad, right? Nope. And here comes the next twist. Turns out he was mind controlled by the witches. And so it's like, okay, well, if he was mind controlled, then it's not his fault for trying to kill the other Jedi and stuff. So why does he feel bad? I guess he feels bad because he went along with the lie. That's not compelling enough. It's really, really not. When you think of exile, you gotta think this dude failed big time. And he had no control of who and what he was. Then there is this dude, Turban. When we see an older Turban in the future and everything, or present day as you will, he pretty much lives kind of, not so much in exile, but he just stays in the Force bubble. And that's where he stays the entire time. And he doesn't come out of it. How he doesn't eat, I have no idea. And so you gotta think, oh my God, he must have did the worst thing possible. He has scars on his face, right? No, it's another misdirect and everything. He did do something bad, but it was more of a selfish, whiny kind of way. He is basically a Jedi who just didn't want to be on that planet collecting berries and this and that. He wanted to go home. And so, but they had to find out what this convergence energy is and stuff like that. So once he realized that it came from the twins, he's like, yo, if we get the twins, we can go home. And so, but you gotta also remember, But let's not forget he was mind controlled as well by Mother and Daria and everything. And she tempted his temptations and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, when you see that, oh, is he gonna turn to like the dark side or something like that, right? No, he's just selfish and wanted to go home because he couldn't cut it and everything. So he's very inexperienced and thought way too much with his emotion. And it's not even really him who caused people to die and everything. And he got that scar on his face from the mind control rookie. So you think in the present day, he must have done something so terrible, so bad. But really, it was just about as minor and selfish as could be. And it's just a huge misdirect. You don't want this many misdirects in the same episode, and there are like 100 and stuff with every stinking character, and sometimes there's more than one with a character. So it was actually Dave Filoni who wanted the witches in the show. Something he established a while back, and we got to see them in The Mandalorian, and we got to see them in Ahsoka, and he really wants the witches to be a thing. So, Leslie tried to expand on that. But the problem is, she didn't expand on it all that well. It kind of reminds me of when Marvel wanted Venom and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. He didn't want them there, but he had to put them there. And this is kind of like the whole witches thing. So because of that, the witches aren't all that developed. They don't like the Jedi. We don't know why. They live in exile because they just want to be by themselves. But what happened to them in the past that wanted them to become exile? Was it ever explained in one of the books or one of the cartoons or video games or something? Heck if I know, because I don't read or watch that stuff or play that stuff. So I don't know. So it would be nice to be explained. And I don't even think nobody knows because I haven't heard nobody talk about that yet. So they are very undeveloped characters who want to live in exile by themselves, and they don't like Jedi for some bizarre reason. Then when you add in the twins and everything, it becomes even more complicated. And their actions and stuff that is not explained very well either. But you have them training the twins for like battle in the future. But what battle exactly and stuff like that? Can they predict the future? One of them said, one day, like, the Jedi would meet one of their greatest enemies and fall, something like that, referring to like the clones and how they killed them all and stuff like that. So maybe she saw something and, had to train them or something like that, right? But, when you see them in episode 3, you get the idea that they might be a little sinister. They might be a little too religious and just shun everything that's not, conform to them and everything. But then when you go to episode 7, it's not like that at all. They was literally just living in peace and, what's their name, spied on them, tried to take the twins, and that's why they fought back and everything. And, I forget the one with the one that looks like Darth Maul and everything. She's actually just straight up mean and causes a lot of the problems and stuff like that, especially when it comes to May. And, you don't get that at first. We know her and the other lady don't really get along, they're married, but we don't know exactly why. Why is she so temperamental and everything, And so it would have been nice to have a bit more explanation to why these characters are the way they are. For now, they're not blank slates. They're like a sheet of paper that's half filled out and a lot of notes being taken but jumbled on a paper. And that's how I feel about the witches and stuff. Now, some people don't like the misdirect and plot twist of that soul, but I actually love it because when you see him in like the first couple of episodes, he's actually one of the nicer, more logical thinking characters. He's by the books. He's not like a bad person. But then you see in episode 7, he did a really bad, selfish thing, and it kind of just comes at you and everything. Some people hate that because they feel like it ruined his character. But you gotta remember, he did something bad in the past too. The only problem is the show makes you think he's kind of oblivious to everything until you get towards the middle, and he's all like, "I'll explain everything to you, Osha," but just in due time and everything. So like, uh-oh, he knows something. What is that something? He was the something. He caused a lot of that mess. He killed the main mother lady and stuff. When she did her weird like turn into Miss Fogg looking thing, he got like either, because here's the thing, he badly wants an apprentice. He wants a Padawan. And he feels that Osha is that one. He feels this strong feeling from her and believes that, hey, she should be my Padawan. He's very, very, very selfish and stuff. And he's overstepping his boundaries. And he's rushing stuff. Because, all those kids back on, like, where the Jedi live at and stuff, he doesn't have a Padawan. They just won't give him one. He ain't ready. And he doesn't want to wait. He's very impatient. That's the word I was looking for. He's extremely impatient and stuff. So he literally wants to kidnap two twin girls from their home and take them with him and stuff. And when he realizes May wants nothing to do with him or Jedi, but Osha does, he tries his best to arrange to get Osha to come with him. And when it comes to that of like, who he has to pick between May or Osha when like the bridge was collapsing, you clearly see he's like, screw May, I'm gonna save Osha because that's the one who actually wants to come and everything, which causes resentment between him and her when she gets older, but he thought she was dead. And worse than that, he's the one who started killing the witches and stuff. He got freaked out by that mist, and he just whipped out his lightsaber and stabbed the crap out of her and stuff. Which, if she went into like mystical particles, how the heck did he kill her if her atoms were scattered and everything? But he killed her, and that would cause the huge fight. And they had to like, both sides had to like fight for survival and stuff. He caused all that crap. He even went as far as when he was spying on the girls and he couldn't get inside their building, he climbed up their like home and snuck inside and everything. And he's a very, very, very selfish character who lives with a lot of guilt because he was forced to lie about everything for so many years and never once tried to like explain what he did. And all that time on the show, he could have literally told Osha, hey, look, man, this is what happened, but never did. He just kept like, just not like telling her and crap. And the weird thing about his character is like he can tell who the twins are. Everybody can tell who the twins are. But then when May chops her hair off to look like Osha, all of a sudden he doesn't know it's her. And when she goes to kill him, he stops her. But we don't know if he knew it was her or if Basil told him, because Basil can tell by sniffing them out. So it's kind of weird how all this time he can always tell which twin is which. But then in this one moment of weakness after fighting the master and everything, he don't know. And that's kind of odd. And with him doing what he did before, this could be one reason why the Jedi are the way they are now, because they let their emotions and their impatience get the best of them. But you would think he would like, turn evil or something, because you needed to pay off. That's the problem and everything. You need his stupidity to play off in a way that does not justify what he did. You know what I'm saying? Now the twins, Osha and May. They established that one's good, one's evil, one wants to be a Jedi, one does not. And that's fine. That's the basis, good versus evil. Like, just keep it like that. Don't have too many twists. Don't have too many misdirections. The problem is there are two major misdirections with these characters. And they are the main character of the freaking show. May's a whole lot more interesting than Osha because Osha's the good person who really doesn't do nothing, and May has a vendetta against these Jedi, and she's been trained by the master, and she so badly wants to use a lightsaber, but he will not let her. So instead, she uses throwing daggers and stuff. But here is the problem with them. Ever since in episode 3 and all the other episodes, it's been established. One is good, one is bad. May is evil, Osha is good. In episode 3, it's established that May likes to hurt animals with the Force, and like cruel intentions, you know what I'm saying? And it's shown she started the fire because she was pissed at her sister for wanting to leave with the Jedi. And so we've been told that May started a fire that killed everybody and all this other crap. And they thought she perished in the fire. And you start to see that play out until then you get to episode 4. And the problem with episode 4 is that once May knows Osha is alive, then she tells Kamir, who she has no idea is the master, that, you know what? My sister's alive and that's all I need. I'm gonna stop trying to kill Jedi. I'm gonna stop being evil and I'm gonna turn myself into the Jedi so I can be with my sister. And then it's kind of like, well, hold up. Aren't you supposed to be evil and everything? And just like that, you're willing to just like be good, but we saw you be pissy towards your sister and burn a place down. At least that's what we thought. So it's kind of like, why this misdirection and this weird character growth for her, wanting now all of a sudden to turn good. Now all of a sudden she loves her sister again and stuff just like that. And I'm like, okay, it could have made more sense if in those first 2 episodes we saw May thinking about Osha and everything. You know, having flashbacks of her sister, looking at her picture. That would have been okay for that plot twist if we would have got more of that. But then Kamir's all like, well, why did they like arrest you? She's like, well, I'll just tell their dirty little secret. And so that's how we knew there wasn't more to like a secret and stuff. But then the problem is after the 5th episode, when everybody, like the master's killing everybody and stuff like that, by the 6th episode, we see we see May once again trying to kill Soul. And that's the last Jedi remaining. And it's just like, well, hold up. You just had this epiphany and you was willing to turn good, but now you're willing to turn back evil again and kill this dude. So now you're back on your original mission after you left the master and everything. What kind of flip-floppity, like, you know, explanation and character development is this? It's too flip-floppy and everything. And that's why I say you gotta keep it simple and keep it basic and have maybe like one twist and stuff. And then there is Osha, somebody who's been good this entire time, but the moment she has a blaster in her hand, she always has that weird look to her that you kind of think, oh, is she gonna turn evil and stuff? But she's been good her entire life. She even studied with that of the Jedi. So she knows what evil is and everything. But she's getting seduced and groomed by a naked Khmer, aka the Master Sith dude and everything. And it's kind of like, is she really that pathetic? She'll just kind of like be swayed to contemplate probably being evil just because there's a naked dude and she's hearing his backstory of how he got his not stars, but his scars from like his master and everything. It makes her look like a pathetic character and a downgrade from the person that we kind of know and everything. She's smart, she's very intelligent, can like fix stuff, and she has a heart of gold. But now that heart of gold is being corrupt like the typical good girl who falls in love with a bad boy. I'm all like, really? You have to degrade her character like that? So there's too many twists with these characters because like I said before, May never wanted to be a Jedi and Osha did. But then as they got older, now you see Osha doesn't want to be a Jedi and May is literally training in the ways to be a Sith. So that's also like a twist. Would have been better if we would have had more hints towards that. But then there's episode 7. We get another flashback episode. And it turns out May is not evil at all. She's just a gripey little like, you know, kid. And a pain in the butt. But it turns out when she started the fire, she literally just wanted to burn Osha's Jedi book. But the fire got too out of control. She got scared and she ran. And so next thing you know, she sees Soul kill her mom and everything, which frightens her to run away again. So when her and Osha meet up again, and Osha's blaming May, like, what did you do, May? She's all like, they're dead. And you think you can tell me that May couldn't be all like, Soul just killed mom? Why couldn't she say that? And so it's a huge misdirect because this entire time, like I said, you know, we supposed to think that May's so evil she would go and kill her family and burn everything down and blah 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 and crap like that. But I guess in that fourth episode of realizing that May's not all that evil, it kind of makes up for May not being evil in that flashback. I guess, you know what I'm saying? But then why again would she turn evil just to try to kill Saul? Well, of course, because he killed her mom, but it's not really her mom. But it's kind of like, if she's so good, why didn't she ask, hey, why did you do this? Because is she going to go back to the master or something like that? You know what I'm saying? So it would have been nice to establish that a little bit more. And she could, because even she didn't even want to hurt like Basil, and she didn't want to hurt like the little droid and everything. She just reprogrammed it, and it's kind of like, okay, clearly she's not that evil, and clearly she wants revenge on Soul and everything, but why did she want revenge on Turban and the Rookie and the Carrie Moss character if they really didn't do anything wrong? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, she should be smart enough not to do that. And she's been taught to be smart, only to be corrupt by Cremere. And how the heck did she even find him? Because it was never explained in those other episodes and stuff, So it's kind of like, I can understand why she wants revenge on Soul, but why all the other ones if she's actually not really evil, just a pain in the butt? But like when it comes to the twins, it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, they flip flop so much on their like emotions and stuff. Like, okay, for instance, when May is with Soul and Basil in the ship, she's like tied up, like before that, she reprogrammed Pip. But it's like, here's the thing with that. We've seen and known for a fact OSHA is really good with mechanical stuff, but we've never seen May be good with mechanical stuff. Now, all of a sudden, May is also good with mechanical stuff. I guess maybe because they're the same person or whatever, but we just know that like OSHA is gifted, but we've never seen May ever do anything mechanical, even for her to reprogram a droid. They are like literally, because you can so tell the whole May OSHA thing is literally Anakin Skywalker and like Darth Vader. Like, they are really trying to emulate him onto them and stuff like that. Well, just let them be their own character, And so like, what is it? So her and Soul are talking, and Soul literally says, hey, whatchamacallit, I don't know what he was doing. Was he taking her back to Brendark, or was he taking her to the council? And he literally said he's going to confess everything. He's going to tell the Jedi Order what he did. He's going to tell the council what he did. He ends all this other stuff. And then he was getting ready to tell her and confess all the bad stuff he did. And what does she do? Tase him. And I'm just kind of like, isn't this what you wanted? Isn't it what you wanted for him to confess and all this other crap and go to jail and blah, 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 and all this other crap? So why would you stop him and tase him, then hop in a ship and like jet on off? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that just don't make no sense. And so like when OSHA finally knows the truth and everything, like, in the Jedi are coming, she's all like, with Cremere, she's all like, oh, we can't trust the Jedi. They're gonna kill us like they killed our mom and blah, 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 and stuff like that. But wasn't she in episode 4 or 5 or whatever it was, like, gonna literally turn herself in to the Jedi? And like, just so she can be with her sister and everything, and tell them, like, what Soul did and all this other crap. And I'm just kind of like, make up your mind with this character. Is she good? Is she bad? Like, what the heck, man? And, it's just weird how she got her mind wiped, and the last memory she had when she was 8, and it's kind of like, okay, they turned the good one bad and the bad one good. And that would have been like a better twist if, like I said before, it was better writing and they didn't flip-flop around. Then, of course, you have OSHA. And now we finally found out why she got kicked out of the Jedi Order and everything. It took this freaking long of a time, the last episode. It's because she had a lot of resentment towards May and she hated her. And because she's so emotional, she got kicked out of the Jedi Order. But here's the thing that kind of bugs me about this. Since this is supposed to be like the early days of the Jedi, shouldn't it be okay for these characters to have emotion? Because a lot of them do, and a lot of them make really bad mistakes. So it would have been nicer if we would have seen all the mistakes in this season, and then it'd be like, oh, okay, so this is why the Jedi are the way they are 100 years later and stuff like that. But anyways, so when she finally finds out what Soul did, because he confessed, she straight up kills this dude, Darth Vader style. They keep emulating Anakin, Darth Vader onto like these two characters and stuff. And that's gonna piss off the fan base. Even the most casual fan will be a little pissed off because this make them their own character. So she just straight up kills this dude. And after that, she picks up the lightsaber. And I knew something was going to happen because why did they focus on the crystal? So she has Soul lightsaber. It has a blue crystal and a blue aura. And then all of a sudden, it turns from blue to red because she is going to the dark side with all her anger and her emotion. Because like she said before, she's pissed off that her mom is dead. And she's been pissed at May for the longest time, but she finds out that, it was the Jedi people that killed all her people. So she is furious with a whole lot of anger, rage, and emotion. And so now, all of a sudden, she agrees to be trained with Premiere because she doesn't want her sister to go down that path, whatever. So she gets Jedi mind wipe May. And at the freaking end, her and Camille are now lovey-dovey couple holding hands and lightsaber. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, we know he groomed her and everything, but she fell for him just that fast. Like just that fast after all these years of being a good person and stuff. It just takes one naked man and the truth about her dead family just to turn her like that. And what was the deal when she had the helmet on? It's like she couldn't breathe and she was suffocating and she saw visions and stuff. And when she saw visions and he tried to get the helmet off her, his eyes turned black like those Force witches. And I started to think, is it her power kicking in and turning his eyes black and he's trying to resist it, or is it somebody else? But then it's kind of like, how can she be a Force witch and she doesn't even have that power, and she doesn't even have the mark and everything? So this is a little bit confusing, and I wish they would explain a little bit better. But of course, they're banking on the second season, which now I don't even believe the showrunner, because I thought she said a long time ago this was supposed to be a one and done type thing, but they left a little bit of wiggle room at the end to where it could possibly get picked up for a second season. This is not a little wiggle room. This is a lot of wiggle room, especially when we get to that cameos and stuff. Because I'll get into that a little bit later. Then there is still the whole mystery of how the twins literally got made. We know they're one person, and for whatever reason, they got split literally into two. They're not twins, they are literally the same person. What does that all mean? We still, to this day, don't know, because they wanted to bank on a second season. How did Mother Anastasia, whatever her name is, how did she do this? Because Soul keeps saying somehow she did this and used the Force to do this, because the Force convergence or whatever it's called. But how exactly? Like, especially people who are casual Star Wars fans like me, explain this crap, man. Just don't leave it for a second season and then explain it, because I might not come back for a second season, and I'm not. Because I'm tired of the pacing in this show and all the flip-flopping and all the twists. It would have been nice to actually explain that, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, because it's kind of like now they're making Ocean to more of an interesting character, but now May is the blank slate, and it's just weird how now their personalities and this and that have flip flopped. And also, how exactly did Osha regain the Force? She literally has not been able to use it all season, and she hasn't used it for over at least 10 or 13 years. So now all of a sudden, when she's really pissed, it kicked back in and she's able to use it. And how come May hasn't used none of her Force witch powers and stuff? Granted, she ain't been taught, but there has to be a witch out there somewhere in the 16 years she's been traveling. And how exactly did she meet Khmer and everything, you know? It's like all this crap should have been explained in the first season, and then you expand upon it if you get a second season. But then here's the thing about more of the like weak writing. Then you got Basil of all people. He don't make no sense as to what he did. So this whole time he's been working for the Jedi. He got paid to work for the Jedi. And he's been tracking down May and stuff like that, right? So when he's back on the ship and he realizes that Osha is not Osha, but really May, he freaks out and she tries to stop him, but not in a violent kind of way. In a way, Soul takes her out, and then Soul and May have a conversation, and we don't see Basil nowhere. So how the heck did Basil even hear the conversation? And if he did, then the only thing he heard was, "I killed your mom by mistake." So all he had to say was that, and be like, oh, okay, well, he must still be a good guy. So then, of course, when we finally get some space chase action and everything, Basil disables the ship so Soul can't track down May. Why the heck did he do that and everything? That doesn't make no sense. There's no explanation for it. And then when we see him down on the planet, he's back to talking to the Jedi and everything. But it's like he has no reason to trust May. He knows May is bad. He wasn't in the room to hear the conversation. And if he does, then yeah, he now knows that Soul killed her mom, but Soul said it was by a mistake. And so far, Soul hasn't really done anything to make him question his loyalty and everything. And not only that, but Soul isn't even pissed at him. This is the most like wonky kind of writing I have ever seen. Like we need a little bit more explanation. But of course his character don't speak. He just does that animal alien talk language and everything. So we have no idea whatever the world he is saying. Then there's Khmer. I don't mind his character. His character is pretty like, straightforward. He was the drug dealer type dude or the arms dealer or whatever. But then it turned out he is the master to May. And he wants her to carry out this evil plan for whatever reason and stuff. And he has a master. And, he groomed Osha, which is something, Sith always do, like Palpatine and everything. But we now have confirmation that, yeah, Vanestra did, in fact, was his teacher and marked him in the back with her light whip. I can't believe the creator went with the obvious choice. And I'm just kind of like, that's not fun. Like going with the obvious choice. Like if this supposed to be a big mystery and some good twist reveals, they should have had somebody else be the master or whatever. But hey, whatever. But I'm shocked that she did this because this is a beloved character in the book canons. And now this character is just as corrupt as other people. So while she's on the planet, she can sense Khmer and surprise he's alive. And of course, Soul don't really tell her that much. So she didn't know he was working with Soul in that second episode. But we see she has some hostility towards the senator, Raincourt. So he was mentioned, name dropped a while back about he's gaining support. And they're really just trying to replicate the prequels at this point in time with this show. So the prequel movies and stuff. So it's like, okay, Raincourt, he believes the Jedi is a religious cult, that they're judge, jury, and executioner. Something everybody's been knowing. Like they remind me of those religious people back in the Salem witch trial days and stuff. And yes, this is something to be concerned of because people like that shouldn't have that much power. she doesn't like that idea, and she doesn't want the Jedi Order to be investigated. But like I said before, he is gaining support, and it's something that's making her very like pissy about. Now the thing about this is like, okay, yeah, we've seen all throughout this season that Jedi are pretty incapable, and they rely too much on their emotions, and they're corrupt and everything. That's all good and well, but it would have been nice to see a scene with him, talking about how he don't trust Jedi and this and that, because even the Force witches don't trust Jedi. And when the Force witches said they don't trust Jedi, in the back of your head, you're all like, why exactly? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it about them that's so bad that people don't like, but everybody else love because of all the movies and stuff? See, it would have been nice to have some foresight into that before this episode dropped. So this something that should have been sprinkled a bit more in the season by having people interact with Jedi and just not trust them and everything. Other than us just seeing a bunch of incapable Jedi that's making mistakes and stuff like that. But Vanestra and Kamir don't even really have no scene together. There's no fight between those two. There's no exchange of dialogue. There's no drama. There's nothing like that. And instead, now they take this beloved character, and minus the purple hair she's supposed to have in the books. I don't know why she's bald-headed, but like, she literally covers up every bad thing that literally happened. Like, she admits that Soul and his boarding party of Jedi screwed things up 16 years ago. And, as a result, killed, like, those witches and stuff like that. And something else, and how he couldn't live with the guilt and he killed himself. And because he's like a dear friend of hers, and, she like gave him a burial funeral and all this other stuff. She literally lied to the council and everything and the rest of the Jedi Order just to cover up because that is her friend. And that's all fine and well to show just how corrupt these Jedi are. But why are exactly they so corrupt back then and stuff? I get it, they're just like everybody else, but this really what changed them 100 years later and stuff, And so it's just odd that just about every character in this show is bad in some shape or form, you know what I'm saying? And then we get the cameo of cameos. Yoda at the very end, and we see the back of his head. And so this is my opinion a ploy. It's the same ploy that Star Trek Discovery did in season 1 finale. At the very end, the original Enterprise show up, and it's like, James T. Kirk ship, like, why is that in this show? And it's not supposed to be in this show. So it made people want to watch season 2, and season 2 was way worse in Star Trek Discovery. And so this is just a ploy to get people to come back for season 2. And now it's kind of like, well, what the heck kind of involvement is Yoda gonna have in this? Is he gonna be corrupt? Is he gonna hide stuff? Is he gonna find out the truth? Like, what's going on? And I honestly don't even want to come back for season 2 because I hate the pacing and some of the writing in this show. Then there's another ploy, Darth Plagueis and everything. He has finally showed up in live action. And he's big because he's the one who taught that Palpatine, and Palpatine killed him in his sleep and stuff like that. And so wouldn't it have made better sense if he was the master to Kamir and everything instead of that of like Vanestra and stuff? Like, that would have been like, oh wow, that makes a little bit more sense and everything, But like, who knows what role he's gonna play now? And at some point in time, he's gonna have to die. So it's kind of gonna be pointless unless they can really write something good. And so for me, the finale has some cool moments and everything, but it didn't hit hard, and they relied on nostalgia to just rope in a second season, which they might get, they might not. And, it's like I said before, when it comes to this entirety of the season, there are some good moments here and there, and there are some good ideas, and those ideas and those twists would have been so much better if the pacing was better in this show. And sadly, the pacing just really is terrible in this show. And then some of the writing just needs to be sharper. There's too many twists upon twists upon twists, and there's too much flip flopping, and characters just don't stay consistent. And if you want to tell a story like this, you need to tell a linear story, and keep your characters pretty basic, and then throw in one or maybe two twists, but not twist after twist after twist, and keep their personalities consistent in everything. Because it helps people follow through when they're watching this story. And I get they want to tell the story of, like, the very first Sith. Now we know it's Khmer and everything. But why exactly is he a Sith? What turned him to the dark side? What caused him to be this way? We don't know, because they want you to come back for a second season. And instead of doing that crap, they need to just throw all their basket or their eggs in one basket. And then if people like that, then get a second season and expand more on what you created. It's just kind of like they're trying so hard to fill in the gaps of the prequels and stuff, and tie things into the prequels and make characters similar to characters in the prequels. Like Osha May are literally Anakin Skywalker and stuff. And instead of trying to base them off of him, why not just create your real own true character and make them have their own unique, distinctive style and personality and stuff? Like the whole having them be the same person and having them split into two, that is fascinating. Keep that and build on it, but you don't have to necessarily turn them into Anakin Skywalker. And now I really wish they would have kept, like, York and Jackie alive, because now that Osha is evil and everything, like, this would have really been something to have more character growth and development, because York never trusted her and Jackie was like her friend and stuff. And now they're gone. And so who the heck do we got left now? All the people we have left now are the twins, Vanestra, um, the Sith Master Lord dude, and Khmer. Like, these are and Yoda. These are the only people left. And it's funny how, like, the creator kept her wife alive. You know what I'm saying? And of course, they're gonna keep Yoda alive because he has to be alive for that. But now you only have three characters that, like, all the people that really matter that could have made this a more interesting season are dead. Like, they're just gone. And it's just kind of like, if they get a second season, now you gotta get used to a whole bunch of new characters. And will you? Because they might just kill them off too. I mean, I know at some point in time they have to die. This was 100 years ago. But build on your freaking story, man. Like build your lore and everything. And they could have killed like one character per season, kind of like what The Walking Dead does. But I don't know. I still think the creator of this show does do some good work, like those other two shows I said. I just think this was a project that was just too much for her, and something she just really can't do, because she's more used to doing comedies and stuff. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.